Today I'm going to talk what Buddha has said. The title of the talk is the house with a leaky roof versus unprotected mind. This talk is recorded in Anguttara Nikaya text in the Arakitas Sutta. This discourse clearly points out the importance of the mind in our daily life. Because the mind and mental states play an important role in every activity and every mental state we experience. It is also a determining factor in improving one's mental qualities and improving quality of life. If the mind left unprotected and unguarded, it can cause so many problems, leading to endless cycle of suffering in one's daily life. This discourse was taught to Buddha's great supporter, the temple donor named Anathapindika. Anathapindika is a name referring to a wealthy and devout supporter of the Buddha. The term refers to generous nature of that supporter. Anatha means those who are helpless, those who are wandering in the streets of cities and towns without nowhere to turn to. Pandika means the one who offers food and support. So Anathapindika is the one who offers food and support to the needy and suffering people. This wealthy supporter is very well known in Buddhist texts. He donated big temple to the Buddha. The temple he donated still can be found in the city of Shawati, and the temple's name is called the Jeta Group Monastery. Buddha lived there for many years in the last part of his life, where he taught many discourses. This discourse is taught to Anathapindika in audience. It is very interesting because it is very relevant and reflect what the meditators are doing in this retreat center. At this retreat center, people come here not to subject themselves to unnecessary physical pain and suffering, but to learn how the mind functions, how the mental states can be brought under management, wise management through mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation is a very powerful tool to manage the mind, to train the mind, to let go of all the mental tricks and mental suffering through development of the impersonal mindfulness, which is detached from the preconceived, very deeply grounded notions of me and mine. In the beginning, the practice of mindfulness meditation may be very challenging for the beginner, even for experience. Sometimes they lost their gut. It's very important to remind oneself that the reality of mental and physical phenomena are against the way we used to think and we used to view. We used to view things as me and mine. Everything is seen in terms of me and mine, in terms of a person. We try to personify the feelings and the mental states and the physical phenomena in many endless ways, thus creating negative reaction inside ourselves in our daily interactions with the people. In this discourse, Buddha clearly pointed out the dominant role the mind plays in our actions, in our mental states. Now let me quote what Buddha has said in that discourse. Tago nata penigo khabdi yena bhagawa tenupa singami. This is the beginning words of the discourse. Then the devotee Anata Peniga approached to where Buddha stays. Upa Singame to Abagona Biwade to Ega Mandani Siddhi. Having approached and having sat at the appropriate place, he paid respect. Ega Mandani Sainan ko Nata Peniga and Kabdi Goa Ida Rosa. Lord Buddha said to the devotee Anata Peniga, who is sitting at the appropriate place. Sede Ghabdi Arakiti, Kaya Gamambi Arakitan Hodi. Devotee, householder, when the mind is unprotected and unguarded, Kaya Gamambi Arakitan Hodi. The bodily actions too become unguarded. Vaji Gamambi Arakitan Hodi. The verbal actions also began unguarded. Manogamambi Arakitan Hodi. Mental states too become unguarded. What Buddha said is very clear. When the mind is unguarded, other unguarded situations follow. Power action, bodily action, even the mental states. How the mind is to be guarded and protected. This is a very important question which needs a lot of simple explanation. There's no way in terms of the physical instrument to keep the mind guarded. Like the way you can guard your house by safe doors and windows and fence, etc. The mind has no physical nature. It is intangible. It has no physical form. It has no solid entity to grab and to show, to hold, to keep it under restraint. It's a very challenging process to guard the mind. To guard the mind, one need to use only the mind itself. There's no other material tool to guard and to protect the mind, to keep the mind fully protected and secure and safe. only the right method of mind control is applicable and also harmless. The mind cannot be controlled by means of chemical drugs or by means of physical things. Some sort of the chemical drugs, they may be able to put down someone's emotions, to cool someone's, and to relax for a while. But in the long-term usage, it is not really effective. It can only give some immediate relief. Only proper method of mental management through meditation is much wholesome and beneficial without any side effect. Here, the meditators are trying to keep the mind under guard, to keep mind secure and prevent it from all the unwholesome mental states. Now let me continue what Buddha said. Tassa arakita kaya kamandasa, arakita vaji kamandasa, arakita mano kamandasa, kaya kamambi awasutam hodi. For a person whose bodily action, bhava actions, and mental states are unguarded, then his bodily actions become mixed with unwholesome conditions. So the result is bodily action become messed up with the unwholesome nature, doing bad things, irresponsible things, and which are based on anger, craving, lust, and other various kind of unwholesome mental states. So the bodily actions become unwholesome and polluted with various unwholesome mental states. Vajikamambi awa sudan hodi. For such a person whose body, bhava action, bodily action, mental states are unguarded. And any words that person said is also mixed with unwholesome things, such as words of unwholesome nature, obscene language, abusive language, and just meaningless chatter, which doesn't have any kind of meaning or purpose or benefit. Manogamambi awa sujan hodi. Mental states to become mixed with those kind of unwholesome conditions. This is the result of having unguarded mind, unguarded bodily action, bhava action, unguarded mental conditions. And Buddha continued to explain further results. Tassa awasuddha kaya kamandasa, awasuddha vaji kamandasa, awasuddha mano kamandasa, kaya kamambi putikam hodi. Once a person's bodily action, bhava actions, and mental states are mixed with the unwholesome condition, bodily deeds are also rotting with unwholesome nature. Here, Buddha used Pali word putika. Puti means rotting and smelly and pure. Vajikamambi putika hodi. Bhava deeds also become rotten. Manogamambi buddhigam hodi. Mental state too become rotten and smelly. This is a direct translation. Actually, it becomes more unwholesome and leading to endless cycle of the unwholesome results. Tassa buddhi kaya kamandassa, buddhi vaji kamandassa, buddhi mano kamandassa, na badhika marana hodi, na badhika kala kiriya. This is the most significant visible results of having unguided mind, unguided bodily actions, unguided verbal action. Now let me translate. For such a person whose bodily acts and verbal words and mental states are rotten and rotten with the unwholesome conditions, unwholesome surroundings, such a life is not a good life. He will even face his even final moments of death in a very sad way. So what Buddha says is clear. Significant result of having unguided mind is having a poor life quality, poor life conditions. One will not be able to live through bad situation and good situations of life peacefully and calmly. Always going through an endless cycle of suffering, especially mental suffering and physical suffering as well. And committing more bad things and getting into problems unnecessarily. So Buddha mentioned that the result of having unguided, unmanaged mind is having to live a poor quality life, a miserable life, and a miserable death. This means that mental management means so much for living, not only for death. If we can manage our mind, it is a real preparation and training to beautifully live through every situations of life, regardless of the whatever down times and good times that you have. Life is full of the unpredictable things. Sometimes suffering comes up, accidents come up, treasuries strike at unexpected times, under unexpected conditions. With a well-managed mind, one can have very strong inner courage and strong mental resiliency, which will make a person ready and strong to go through such challenging situation. In other words, a well-managed mind is the pathway to peace and joy in living this very life to the fullest in a very beneficial way. Now, but I'll continue to explain by using a simile of the house. Sayadaw ghabdi kutagare dokchani kutambi arakitan hodi kopa nasiyobi arakita hondi bedibi arakita hodi. Just as a devotee, when a house with a big has a bad roofing, kutambi arakitan hodi, the beak of the house is not secure against the elements such as rains and heat and the winds. Kopanasiyobi arakidawandi. Raptors main beings to become unprotected and unguarded. Due to the leaking rain, water, and glowing winds and heat. Betibi arakidahodi. The wall also will be protected and unguarded. In this case, Buddha continued to explain, Kudambi awasudan hodi. Big structure of the house and everything under the roof will also have negative impact, loosening the structural integrity of the building. Because in long-term contact with the rainwater and moisture and harsh elements of the heat combined with the strong winds, structure which is underneath the roof will become weaker and weaker. As a result, Kudambi Putikan Hodi Kopanasiyobi Putika Hondi, Bedibi Pusika Hondi, all the other structures under the roof will become slowly rotten and brittle. The strength of the constructed material will be becoming weaker. And thus it will lead to complete breakdown of the house, and the house will not be safe. The people living inside the house will be liable to accidents and unnecessary suffering. So what Buddha used in this discourse as a simile is the house whose roof is poorly done, not well done. When the roof of the house is not well done, not well managed, then other things which are being underneath that roof will become effective. Buddha continue to explain. Ewa mewan ko khapdi chaiti arakiti kaya kamabi arakitan hodi ujikamambi arakitan hodi mnokamambi arakitan hodi. Devotee in the same way, when a person's mind is unguarded, bodily actions to become unguarded, bhava actions to become unguarded, the mental state also become unguarded, and leading to endless consequence, negative consequence. Buddha compared the mind as the peak of the house. Our bodies are like the house. We have to have the good roofing, strong and unleaky roofing. If the roof is leaky, in case of rain, in case of snow, in case of heavy storm, it will be blown off, and the water and the moisture will seep through it affecting other things such as walls and rafters and beams and floors inside the house. That's creating problems, more problems. Buddha emphasized the development of the samadhi. In the previous talks, I have mentioned about the triple training for development of the moral virtue, training for development of the concentration or samadhi, training for development of wisdom. Why Buddha emphasized development of concentration? Because concentration is a mental quality, a mental integrity, which is collective and strong and concentrated. Thus, having a concentrated and strong mind will make the mind more strong, and it will make the mind more ready to withstand the impacts of daily life, which are sometimes full of bad conditions. Here we have to understand how our daily mind become active. This is very important to know. Otherwise, we don't know how to manage the mind. The mind is generated through everyday contact with the external objects, through our 6 sense doors. Basically, meditator has to understand this. A meditator has to understand this basic aspect. The mind, active mental states, arise in contact with external object, physical object as well as mental objects, come in contact with the internal bodily door, 5 bodily doors, 1 mental door. External objects and 1 external mental objects are called Bahira Yarana. Bahira Yarana is a Pali word. Bahira means external, outside. Ayana means enlargement, the base. External base of enlargement. Enlargement means the thing that enlarge our sensual sphere. The Pali term Ayana is a very direct English word, a Pali word, very simple and very meaningful. Ayana means to enlarge, to amplify. And sometimes it means act of enlargement, act of amplification. How this word came to be used? Because human mind basically is inactive. For example, during the sleep, during the person's conception in the womb, when a person is unconscious, in that state the mind is inactive. The moment a person wakes up and he starts opening the eye, and the knowing consciousness arises, and he starts seeing things inside his room. The moment he opens his eye, while he is lying on the bed, and then his ear start picking up the early morning sounds of the birds chattering on the tree branches. And also, the mind start become active. thoughts arise to get up and to wash up, to dress up, to clean up oneself, and to have some breakfast, etc. So the moment a person wakes up, active mental states resume their cycle of function. So the term arana is very relevant. Amplification, bahira arana, external amplification of the sensual sphere in mind. There are 6 external bases. What are they? Sights and sounds, smells, and the taste, and also the various kind of the sensations. And number 6 is a very different one. It is an immaterial. It is immaterial states of the sights, sounds, and smells, and tastes, and sensation, which a person's mind have experienced before. They are all experience, or some experience the mind receiving as the object. So they are called the Dhamma. Dhamma in this sense is not the teaching of the Buddha. It means the phenomena. In simple English, it can be interpreted as mental objects. Whatever things in the world, the mind, which the mind accepts as the object, is a lot. The mind can't accept everything. So altogether, 6: sight, sound, smell, taste, sensation, and all mental objects which the mind can accept. In Pali, it is called chakku, rupa, saddha, gandha, rasa, pottabha, dhamma. These are the 6 external ways of amplification. For the mind to be active, for the sensual sphere to be received. Now, let me explain 6 internal ways. 6 internal ways are 5, there are 5 physical ways. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, and the body bus, most of the body bus, where the sensations can be felt experienced, except the nails and the hairs, or except the body points, which is suffering from eczema or leprosy, where the touching sensation is no longer feel experienced. And for some people who have been suffering from local atrophy of the skin condition, these serve as the 5 internal physical ways. The number 6 is the mind itself. The mind itself is headquarters of all the sensations and all experience. So these are called the 6 internal bases. In Pali, it is called the Ijatika Arana. Ijatika means internal, Arana means basis of amplification of the mind to become active, to have the sensual sphere amplifying. This is where feelings arise. This is where endless cycle of emotions, reactions, and sufferings are felt in experience. If a person wants to train one's mind to be guarded and protected, one should base his attention here. That's what you are doing during this retreat at the center. order to train meditators regarding the guarding of the mind, Buddha taught quite a large number of discourses and many texts. Even in Thitzana Sutta, Buddha mentioned about that. Let me go what Buddha said in the Thitzana Sutta discourse. Ita bhikkhve bhikkhu jakkunja bhaja samjanati rupeja bhajanati yenja drupya mataja obhaji sanyojana tenja bhajanati yatha ja nubanasa sanyojanasa ubharo hodi tenja bhajanati yatha ja ubanasa sanyojanasa bhana hodi tenja bhajanati yatha ja binasa sanyojanasa adi nubharo hodi tenja bhajanati. A meditator who is undergoing mindfulness meditation practice should see the eye mindfully, should see the sights mindfully. In this case, see means note, should note the eye mindfully and should note the sights mindfully. Yenja drupyam preja obhiji sanyojana. And also any mental state, mental factor which arise out of the eye and the sight should be observed. In mindfulness meditation, meditators are instructed by the teacher to note seeing as seeing. For ordinary person in conventional sense, it may be difficult to understand what it means. It means only to note as the sight, seeing, not going into detail, not letting any subsequent thoughts arise. Just to cut through all the endless chain of thoughts by noting down and simply letting go. The sight as the sight, the seeing process as the seeing, so that the mind no longer involved in subsequent thoughts. It may be difficult in the beginning, but if one understands the seeing eye and the object, the sight being seen, are not anyone, just only matters. In this case, at the moment, seeing process is harmless. And once the thought arises, oh, this is a dog, this is a flower, this is someone, or this is beautiful, this is ugly, etc. When such determination and cognition arise, then continual chains of thoughts arise. The purpose of mindfulness meditation in noting seeing as seeing is to cut down that chain of thoughts, the chain of the mental states. That's why Buddha said, Yenja drupyam preja obhajati sanyojana tenja bhajanati. Any mental state that comes out of the context of the eye and the sight, a meditator must be mindful, must note it. Then he must be also able to cut and remove any unwholesome mental state or wholesome mental state arise. Just actually, mindfulness itself is a wholesome mental state. When mindfulness is dominant and take over seeing process, unwholesome mental state will not arise. But I'll continue to explain. Yathaja anupanasa sanyojanata ubbaro hodi tenja bhajanati. Whatever unwholesome mental states arise, a meditator should be noted by applying mindfulness observation. Raja Upanasa Sanyojanata Pana Hodi Tenja Bhajanadi. A meditator should be mindful. The moment attachment arises, he must be able to remove it by noting down. Raja Binata Sanyojanata Ade Nobal Hodi Tenja Bhajanadi. A meditator should also observe in such a way that remove attachment or anger doesn't recur again by being mindful, by maintaining mindfulness. This is how Buddha described in the Mahasiprana Sutta discourse. This way, a meditator cut the chain of the continuous cycle of the action and reaction. When the eye comes in contact with the sight. Similarly, a meditator should apply mindfulness when he is hearing the sound with his ear, and when a meditator smell the airborne smell and by means of his nose, he must use mindfulness skillfully and patiently. When the meditator experiences the taste through the tongue in the moment of eating, he must be mindful. That's why you are encouraged to practice mindful eating. This way, the desires or attachment or craving will be kept under control. You can overcome food craving and food desires and unnecessary, unhealthy eating. In the same way, when a meditator experiences sensation of varied nature through the having the pain or through the contact with the external elements such as heat, cold, or the winds, etc. A meditator must be aware of that. That's those sensations with mindfulness. When reaction arises, such as anger or desire, in case of the pleasant sensation, he must be aware of that. And he must be able to cut through unwholesome mental states from continuing, from rising in the mind. And the same way, through the main consciousness, when a person starts thinking about this and that, thinking about some good food, seeing some wonderful sight on a vacation trip, or talking with the friends and planning something to do, a meditator must know such kind of very busy mental states and silent planning and silent chattering by means of mindfulness. In this case, mindfulness key is also very important. Most meditators, they cannot notice the moment thoughts arise. Especially in the beginning few weeks, they find it very difficult to observe the wandering thoughts, to manage the thinking mind and planning mind and complaining and protesting mind. It's fine. A little bit challenging for them. But once they have the right attitudes, a right balance and effort, they will be able to handle the wandering thoughts. Having right attitudes is having proper understanding and true understanding regarding one's true nature. There's no me and no mind, just only body and mind. Noting mind and the object being noted. Once a person has this notion, this right attitude during meditation, his meditation will be slowly progress. And also, meditation needs right balance effort, neither pushing too much nor making no effort at all. You have to balance. A meditator has to balance his effort, his focus, and this way the meditation will be smooth and progressive. Experienced meditator, when they make progress, they know how to handle the wandering thoughts. They can handle wandering thoughts later on. It's very wonderful development in one's meditation practice. In this discourse, Buddha clearly point out when the mind is kept under the guard of mindfulness meditation, the bodily action will be also guarded and protected. And Baba actions also will be guarded and protected. Mental states also will be guarded and protected. Because the mind is very dominant, powerful force in our very existence. If we can improve mental condition through mindfulness meditation, daily life will be also wonderful. It will be livable and manageable. Now let me continue what Buddha explained in the discourse. Chaite ghabdi rakhiti, kaya kamambi rakhitan hoti, vajikamambi rakhitan hoti, manokamambi rakhitan hoti. Devotee, when the mind is guarded, bodily actions also guarded, Baba actions also guarded, mental states also guarded. You can see yourself how you can keep your mind guarded. Let's say you go back to your home. If we let the mind unguarded, it wants this and that. It never stays. It never remains still. That's why you see a lot of people doing this and that, shaking their feet and looking here and there. And nowadays, most people, they just keep their eyes glued to the screen of the small smartphones and computers and TVs, and even in the bus stop, even in their home. Some children, even when they are supposed to be going bed and supposed to go bed, they just keep watching and using social media. They don't sleep. And later, they have many problems. So if the mind is left unguarded, it wants to do endless things. It wants to go everywhere. It wants to be everything. It wants to know everything. A loose mind, unguarded mind, is very harmful in many ways. This does not mean you have to control your mind all the time. You must not use all those modern day gadgets. You have to use if necessary. But at the same time, you can keep your mind guarded. For example, on your daily commute, if you have nothing to do, especially on the, so let's say on the train, on the metro train or on the bus, you can keep your mindfulness. It's a very wonderful way of keeping your mind guarded, keeping your mind fully charged for anything you do in your day. This way you can keep your mind calm, peaceful, uncluttered, and fully energized for your day's hard work. Very wonderful application of the mindfulness meditation in your busy life. And now let me continue what Buddha has said. Tata Rekita Kaya Kamandada, Rekita Wajikamandada, Rekita Mnokamandada, Kaya Kamabi, Nawa Suktan Hoti. For a person whose bodily action, bhava actions, and mental states are carried. As a result of it, the body actions also uncluttered and wholesome. Is no longer messed up with the unnecessary unwholesome condition. And Babel words he used become mature and modest and wholesome. Manogamabi and now Sudan Hoti. Mental conditions also become clean and pure, uncluttered. Normally, our mind is full of the garbage, like the garbage can. We are full of so many stuffs. We even have discarded trash in our brain, in our mind. This is very clear by having a lot of random, useless thoughts all the time, which are not doing any good to us, which has no meaning at all. But we keep thinking. A lot of aimless, wandering thoughts occur millions of times every day. This is the quite common pattern among most people. If you are experienced meditator, you can use mindfulness meditation in your daily life. This does not mean you have to meditate during your work hours. You can use your time sometimes once in a while for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You can keep your mindful awareness of the breath, or the sitting and touching, or the just rising and falling. You will know how wonderful it is. While you are waiting your flight on in the airports, you can apply it. You will remain peaceful and quiet, even though you need to check your flight. You will no longer agitated. The mind will be very calm and peaceful. It's a very wonderful application of the mindfulness in your daily life. And what I'm going to need to explain. Tassa anavasudha kagamanda, tassa anavasudha usikamanda, anavasudha manokamanda, kagami aputikam hoti. Having such a clean and stable bodily actions and bhava actions and mental states, all his bodily actions are no longer routine. Bhava words he used are no longer routine with the mental contaminants, which can cause problem to himself and to other people. The mental state too become fresh. Abudika in this means not rotten, but in simple English, I want to translate as fresh. It will always remain fresh, and energetic, and pure, and positive. Tata abudika gamanada, abudi usikamanda, abudi mnogamanda, bataga marana hoti, batika kala kriya. This is the final, very important, substantial result and benefit of applying a guided mind policy. Let me translate what Buddha said. For a person whose bodily action, bodily activity, and bhava activities and mental states are no longer rotting and fresh, always vibrant, energetic, and wholesome, then that person's life will be improved and he can live a quality life. He can also serene, worry-free death, no longer afraid of death. Because death itself is just a moment of sleep for a temporary period. And then, if one has a lot of attachment to rebound, he will rebound in the next phase of life. There's nothing to worry about. In Buddhism, in Buddha's teaching, you don't have to worry about that. If you live life responsibly, morally, and nicely. For being a disbeliever, you will not be going down to hell. It's very different from other religious traditions. You are born here into this world freely. In the same way, we can also die freely without worrying for hell, without worrying for any negative consequence, if we have lived life responsibly. In this case, a mindfulness meditator can live life peacefully and beautifully in times of good condition, in times of bad and worse condition. He can also face that with courage, peace, and serenity, because that no longer threatens a meditator. This is what Buddha mentioned in this discourse. Buddha used again the simile. Sayadaw gabi kudagari suchani kudambi rakita hoti goba nasiyobi rakita hoti betibi rakita hoti. Devotee, just as a house whose roof is well down, well roofed, all the structures underneath the roof are protected and guarded from the harsh elements. No seepage of the rainwater, no weakening of the structure, and structural integrity and the normal strength of the material will remain strong. Because the roof is well down, there's no leakage. Because there's no leakage, all structures underneath the roof will not suffer any kind of moisture problems. And they will remain fresh even after hundreds of years. Thus, the building will be safe for those residents and occupants. Please remember that our consciousness is the occupant of this body. This body is like a house. This body is like a vehicle of existence. Once you understand that, you will know how important it is to take care of one's mind and one's consciousness, to be strong, to be resilient, to be rebounding property in case of the bad condition, sad condition, or good condition. She will not be shaken, she will not be affected by bad condition because the mind is strong. With a strong mind, you can manage everything, you can navigate well. You can navigate through every twists and turns and every ups and downs of life. Then Buddha concludes by the following words: Ewa mewo gabi chaiti rakiti kagamambi rakitan hodi. Wajigamami rakitan hodi mnogami rakiti. Similarly, devotee, when the mind is guarded, the body activity, power activity, mental conditions to become guarded and protected. Once they are protected, and all the bodily activity, power activities, and mental states are no longer polluted with impure contaminants. Having pure body action and power activities and mental states can lead to constant freshness of the body activity and power activities and mental states. For a person with such uncluttered, clean, pure, and fresh bodily activities, power activity, and mental states, life will be wonderful. And that will be serene and peaceful. That is what Buddha said. May all of you be able to improve the quality of the mind, by getting through mindfulness meditation. May you be able to live through every good times and bad times of your life, like the Buddha in Enlightenment says. May you attain peace and happiness and freedom from suffering.